Your organisation runs training courses for your staff and customers. Only problem is it's time-consuming, inconvenient and costly. Take a leaf out of our book. The School of Hard Knock Knocks uses the online training platform by YZ, and our team and customers love it. It's simple to use, supports every media format, audio, video, text, and looks great on desktops, tablets and mobiles. And for a limited time, quote SHKK when you arrange a demo and get 10% off your first year's plan. YZ helps us deliver comedy courses around the world. Imagine what it could do for your organisation. YZ, that's WYZED.com. YZ, online learning made simple. You're listening to the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast with me, Maury Morgan.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next comedian.
Shouldn't drink on an empty head, you know that, don't you?
That is the shittiest heckle I have ever heard in my life.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
That's a bucket list.
You have dangerously underprepared yourself for the shit that is about to get real.
Adelaide-based Kim Lee is one of those annoying high achievers. A qualified psychiatrist, Kim is also a black belt, speaks multiple languages, is an awarded keynote speaker, and now he's excelling in stand-up comedy. He's also a graduate of the School of Hard Knock Knocks and was the middle bracket at the most recent Adelaide graduation alongside Glenn Nicholas and Jerry Massey, aka Mad Dog Malcolm. In this School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast, Kim and I talk about his new open mic room, the Comedy Clinic, his upcoming comedy production, For Real, an all-Vietnamese Australian comedian lineup with Lee Ton and Loc Tran on October 26, and just to emphasise how annoyingly gifted this guy is, we talk about his invitation to perform at next year's Adelaide Fringe Festival's Next Generation Comedy Show. And he's only been doing stand-up for 5 months. And if, like Kim, you'd like to kickstart your stand-up comedy career with the School of Hard Knock Knocks, then this is your month. Assuming you're in Melbourne, Aussie comedy legend Greg Fleet is our guest comedy coach for the September 23 to 27 course in Melbourne. But don't dally, we're only days away. Visit www.schoolofhardknockknocks.com for details. And now, here's Kim Lee.
I'm just as happy as the next person that Australia's becoming more progressive, but a part of me feels like maybe we're becoming a little bit too PC, too politically correct, yeah? Would you agree? Yeah. We should hold on to some of these old school terms for special occasions. So just like in high school, where you had casual dress Fridays, I suggest we should introduce into the workplace a special day called Casual Racism Fridays. It's Friday today, so let's try it out, yeah? So instead of rocking up in a pair of khaki jeans, you might go, "Hey, Mei Ling, your English is really good." Or, "Oi, Betty, what you got there? Potatoes?" Or, "Ramesh, when you got a chance, do you think you could help me out with my computer?" In Vietnamese culture, there's no such thing as tall poppy syndrome because everyone's the same height. But we do have something called small puppy syndrome where we go, "Oh, puppy's so cute." But as soon as it gets too big, we chop it up with some bok choy.
Good evening, Kim. How are you?
G'day, Maury.
Yeah, well, good. Kim, you're amongst some very famous people in the live recording of the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast.
Ooh.
Yeah, you are joined with Jeff Green, who was actually our last podcastee.
Yes.
And Richard Stubbs, the only two people I've ever interviewed face to face.
And did he give you the challenge word?
No, we ended up dropping that, mostly because I got lazy. And people are probably wondering what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I didn't give you a challenge word, did I? No, there we go. For those listening to this podcast wondering what I'm talking about or what Kim's talking about, yeah, we set up an idea for comedians to set up a joke for the next interviewee. And anyway, I got lazy. But enough of me. Kim Lee, you are an Australian Vietnamese comedian.
Yes.
You also have a side hustle, and that's you're a psychiatrist at the local hospital. But we're not going to talk about that job necessarily. We will talk about it in part because it does obviously. The brain is important in comedy, as we do. So I met you way back during Mad March this year.
Yes.
Mad March what is Mad March?
Mad March is during the Fringe era of the year. there's other festivals. There's Womadelaide Adelaide Festival, Music Festival. There's the Clipsal 500. There's all these things happening, and that's when Adelaide becomes a hustling, bustling sort of epicenter of South Australia.
Yeah, really, and I've been told that it is every other month outside Mad March. It's relatively hard to get an audience together. It's hard to get a good group of people together, but I think that's changing.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of development happening in Adelaide, and the buzz is happening in a lot of smaller bars, and people are going out.
Very good, and we will talk about some of those bars and some of the places they're going out to. Let's go back a little bit, talk about your comedy career. So we met in March, but you'd started your comedy not shortly, a little bit before then. So you've been doing stand-up for about 5 months.
Yes.
Yep. Well, it is, what is it now? September. So the 9th, so yeah, roughly, what is that?
Yeah, my first open mic was in Rhino Room.
Yes. Rhino Room's probably one of the most famous rooms, both curated and open mic.
Yes, yeah. One mic stand is the free open mic on a Monday night, and you're meant to bring along friends who pay to be part of the audience. But it's the place to go in Adelaide for a great night out and stand-up comedy.
Yeah, fantastic. And you got into comedy, and you seem to have dived straight into the deep end because
total immersion.
And I get the feeling that that's what you do in your life, like because you do martial arts.
Yes.
Yeah, and I imagine that you just went straight to black belt as fast as you could. Did you, or try it?
Yeah,
the process of going.
I got my first black belt in Taekwondo when I was a teenager.
Right, and then you started learning Japanese, is my understanding.
I have learned Mandarin Chinese in the past, but I love languages. I always learnt languages, Farsi, Croatian, Portuguese,
Right, and then suddenly comedy. So why comedy? What happened?
What happened was I won a state public speaking competition this year and went to Tasmania to compete.
Is that Toastmasters?
Toastmasters, yes. So I won the international category, and I wanted some extra confidence, and I'd always wanted to do comedy. And ever since I was a kid, I was naturally always trying to make myself laugh or other people laugh, and essentially that part of me was beaten out of me because I had to succeed academically. So high school, medical school, there's a lot of pressure to succeed, so I just forgot about that side of me. Now that I'm a psychiatrist, I work full-time, got a great job, essentially have made it in Asian circles.
Yes.
But now I'm wanting to explore the more performance side.
Yeah, right. It's all downhill from now. Good. So comedy and psychiatry, there's obviously a direct link between the brain and humour. In fact, we were just talking off mic, and you were saying that humour is one of the most complicated cognitive processes that humans develop.
Yes.
And it starts... Or does it start at age 3, or it sort of...
Well, there are different parts to humour. One of those parts is theory of mind or mentalisation, and that's the ability to take someone else's perspective, their thoughts, their beliefs, and their perspective and their angle on things. And that's not just empathy, which is being in someone else's shoes from an emotional point of view, but theory of mind is actually understanding what they're actually saying and what that means to them in what context. So when a child is 3, that's when they're meant to develop a theory of mind. So there's a famous experiment for kids where they put a ball in a basket, and then there's another person in the room, and that person leaves the room and they come back. But when they come back, someone's actually moved the ball into a box, and you're meant to ask the 3-year-old, where does that person that left the room and came back, where do they think the ball is? And obviously we all know that it's in the now box, but the 3-year-old is still, they may not have developed that part of their brain, and they think that the person knows it's in the box, but it's not. It's in the box, but they think it, you know what I mean? Yeah.
It is late, and my cognitive process is under stress as well. I think the point of that was to say that we, as not 3-year-olds, somewhat older people.
But when you drink alcohol or have a mental disorder, that part of your brain can actually get wiped out. Like you can have a deficit in that area.
Right. Huh. I wonder if that's where the thinking outside the box comes from. Probably not at all. All right, so in that sense, a comedian's up on stage, and obviously they're telling a story which is very vivid to them, particularly if it's a true story, and at the same time they have to understand that the belief systems that the audience have may be different from their own, and therefore when they describe a horse, that the audience might be thinking of a yellow horse, whereas you might be talking about a unicorn that's white. And, I understand.
That's why you need to have the very tight setup to get the punchline, and some people will change their set based on what state they're in. Yes, because, for example, I have a reference to the Kangaroo Island Sea Link ferry, and when I go to Melbourne, I use the Tasmania ferry.
Yep, that's right. Yep, that's right. Context is important. I get it. And like the word bogan, for example, is synonymous or ubiquitous across Australia now. Yeah. But perhaps 20 years ago, when Chris Franklin, the stereotypical bogan, was out, he had to use different words like Westie and Sydney and wherever. Yeah. I don't know what Adelaide used, but...
Elizabethans.
Oh, that sounds very royal.
Sure, that's a local comedian uses that. Jay Michael. So I stole that from him.
Oh, very good.
He's an Elizabethan.
There you go. Now, let's talk about your comedy. So in 5 months, like with everything that you do, you annoyingly succeed quickly at it.
And that's part of my thing. For me, that hustle, that being annoying, sort of, for me, I don't know why it gives me the thrill, but for me, I get a lot of satisfaction from doing things that other people aren't willing to do. Yeah.
And you did and we met when you did the School of Hard Knocks. With Glenn Nicholas, was the guest comedian, and then you performed, and now you're coming back, in fact, tomorrow. Yep. Although the audience will hear this after the fact, unless I manage to edit this in time, but unlikely given the fact that it's almost midnight. Yeah. And you'll be performing with Glenn as the middle bracket. Mm-hmm. So you would have done, and that was June that you performed. Yeah. Which is 6 months, so 3 months later. Yeah. Boom, there you are. Yeah. Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Thanks. No, thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, my first paid gig.
That's it. That's what we want. Your cognitive process to remember the School of Hard Knocks. It's a manipulative approach. Yeah. Now you'll be performing with another great Adelaide comedian, Jerry Massey. Yeah. Who's going to be using his AKA Mad Dog Malcolm Cummings,
and he was on a couple of episodes ago.
Yes, on the podcast he was, when we talked about his upbringing. And in fact, we saw him last night at the Cranker Comedy, didn't we? But only as Jerry Massey. Yes. He wasn't the outlandish character.
I think he's trying to put Mad Dog Malcolm to rest.
Is he?
Yeah.
There we go.
Go out the back and shoot him.
I think he's going to die of liver cancer.
All right.
Mad Dog, not Jerry. Although... Who knows? Now, aside from the School of Hard Knocks, you've been very busy because you're a high performer, you're a high achiever, for real. And when I say for real, I'm using the correct pronunciation.
Come on, Murray, it's pho. It's pronounced pho. Okay.
For real, PHO, which a lot of people on this podcast are going to pronounce as pho. Yeah. But we're talking about the soup, noodle, dumpling dish.
No dumplings, just beef.
Just beef?
Yeah.
All right, I get
beef noodle soup.
A beef noodle soup. I sometimes get my local Vietnamese fellow to put beef balls.
Yeah, beef balls. Yeah,
beef balls is fun. Okay, for real on the 26th of October here in Adelaide, and it is obviously it's a Vietnamese theme. Yes. Tell us about that.
Well, for me, I've always grown up knowing that the group Wogs Out of Work and. Wog Boy, the Italian Greeks, they put on a great show, and they've got actually a Vietnamese guy, Hung Lee, used to go on that show. Yep. And I used to love that people of ethnic minority backgrounds could get together. And, it's like the proverb, travel alone, travel fast, travel together, travel far. And I have been really fortunate that the Adelaide comedy circuit have been so welcoming, and the audiences have been so great to laugh at my mainly Asian jokes. But I've never really had an all Asian crowd, and for me, my curious side just wants to know what it's like to perform in an all Asian crowd.
Yep.
You know, when you watch the Netflix series Ali Wong, or
Yep.
you watch Russell Peters, there's you know, Asian people in the crowd, and they're able to pull that kind of crowd. And I just want to know,
Yep.
test some different material out. And I've, you know, Lee Ton is one of the School of Hard Knock Knocks alumni.
Yes.
And I got to meet him at the Ito show. The
So is
season
this
one.
thing on
Yep.
TV show that some people in this podcast might have heard of? Yep.
And got to meet him after that show, and you know, we're thinking about taking over Australian comedy with Vietnamese comedians.
Good.
And so for me, it's about creating some opportunities and experimenting, really. And we got a really nice room at Broadcast Bar on Grote Street near Chinatown in Adelaide, and they've been kind enough to give us a 50-seater room, and
Wow.
we've already sold out our first show.
And you got two shows
Yep.
on that night, on that day, 26th of October.
Yep.
So is the first one sold out or the second one?
The 8 p.m. show, the late
8
show.
p.m., the late
we're-
show.
Yeah. So we're putting on a 6 p.m. show as well.
Very good.
Yeah.
26th of October, is that a
Yeah,
weekend?
it's a Friday night.
So straight
It's-
after work, 6:30.
Yeah, it's during the first week of Oz Asia Festival, which is a massive Asian-themed music and arts festival. They have a dumpling festival night market down at Elder Park by the river, and we are just around the corner near Victoria Square. And yeah, it's going to be a great night. We've already sold out, and if you look at my Eventbrite listing, it's Nguyen, Tran, Lee, and then there's like one Smith in the middle.
That's right.
Yeah,
And that's
so
probably,
it's working.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about three people. I mean, everyone's called one of those surnames, aren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, well, fantastic. Well, that's incredible. So you said Lee Ton,
Yeah.
yourself, Kim
Yeah,
Lee,
and there's Lok Tran, who's a
Lok
good
Tran.
friend of mine who's been doing comedy for about 10 years. I remember going to see him at the Rhino Room 10 years ago and supporting him, and he's done a fringe show every year for the last couple of years, even performed alongside Jib Moen.
Yep.
And yeah, he's a really creative guy, and getting some other famous Vietnamese Asian comedians. There's Nicholas Huntley, who I saw at the Fringe Festival this year in the Fat Cave, and he has some great jokes, and he really inspired me actually to go to the next step and do stand-up comedy. And we've got Ju Young Roberts, and I've also got some other great acts coming along as well, some surprise acts.
Oh, that's good. That's great. We've in the course that when you perform tomorrow, as the middle bracket, we've got a Vietnamese Aussie guy there called Nip Jung.
Yeah,
I think I got
Nip
that.
Zhang, yep.
Yeah, Jung Zhang.
Yeah.
Great comedian already playing in front of his name, which is great. You know, not taking life too seriously. Bit of competition in the next. If he's as fast learner as you are, 5 months from now, yeah.
Well, you know, it's like going down. What is it? Down Richmond was.
Yeah, Victoria Street. Yeah.
You got all the restaurants along there, and people flock to that area because they know they're going to get. You know, it's competition, but everyone, there's enough for everyone, I think.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it will obviously give a reminder that there is a new type of comedy. Like you said, Wogs Out of Work created this whole new type of comedy.
Yeah, and we've got the Crazy Rich Asians movie coming out with so many Australian actors and comedians on there.
Yep.
And essentially that movie is like the hairless version of My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It's just coming around in a different phase.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's very good. Well, we'll look forward to seeing potentially an Adelaide equivalent TV show. Not only that, so this is it. You don't stop.
No.
Kim, you just keep going. The Adelaide Fringe has invited you, or rather a member of the Adelaide Fringe at the Rhino Room, I think Craig Egan specifically, has asked you to be involved in the Next Generation show, which will be in Mad March in 2019. What is that?
So every year, Adelaide Comedy and Rhino Room, they put on a showcase of all the best open micers of the year.
Yep.
And essentially we've got a group of us who each host a night each, and we rotate through, and it's just a fantastic opportunity. I'm so proud to be along some great comedians and a few young guns from the Class Clowns. So
Yeah, right.
we've got some really great comedians in the group.
Are they over 18? Are we allowed to?
There's an 18-year-old and I'm not sure how old the other person is. But
Oh, good. Thank God for lax alcohol
Yeah.
laws, eh? I guess his mum's in the crowd. He can be there, right?
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
pub, is it? Is it? Yeah.
It's licensed. Yeah.
Licensed, yeah. Unlike the US, where you wouldn't be able to step foot in the
Yeah.
building underage, of course. Very good. So, how many minutes do you have to perform for that?
10
show?
minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah. Yeah.
Or host is hosting 1 or 10 minutes.
Yeah. Perfect. I imagine that you'll be riding frantically for that show because, given the fact that every Asian will see you at For Real in
Yeah.
26th of October,
Yeah.
if you want to get them back again.
Yeah, well, I'm writing every day.
Yep.
I get a lot of material from just everyday work, and I go to comedy shows pretty much every night in Adelaide now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's my next question, which is what is the state of comedy in Adelaide? Because when I started looking into Adelaide as a market for the School of Hard
Yeah.
Knocks, there was the Rhino Room and Cranker Comedy,
Yeah.
and even Cranker Comedy at that point was only a fortnight show.
Yeah.
Now it's every week, so it
Yeah.
seems to have rapidly evolved.
Yeah. So there's One Mic Stand, which is run by Michael Bowley on a Monday night. Now there's Cranker Comedy,
Yep.
run by Ross Vatikas. There's Giggles at Biggie's at Bertram Basement on a Wednesday night every week, and that's a free show. That's run by some young guys, Craig Friday, Jacob Jackman and Gene Lewis. And, they're pretty much of my generation, a little bit before me, but they're just doing some really creative stuff. It's a really great vibe, a young crowd.
Yep.
And then Thursdays we did have one that was run by James McCann, but I'm not sure if he's going to continue with that. But Mark Ryan, the beautiful Bogan, he's doing one on a Thursday night in Port Adelaide.
Yep.
And of course we've got Friday night Rhino Room show, and then Saturday night,
Yes, I've heard you're busy again.
yeah, we got a new room. Saturday night was wide open, and I decided to use the space at Broadcast Bar to open up a Saturday night open mic.
Yes, and being a doctor, you've named it.
Comedy Clinic.
There we go, Comedy Clinic.
And all the furnishings are from the old RA, so it's all very much a medical sort of feel, but
Yeah.
for open mic.
Not in a kind of ghost story, haunted hospital look.
Yeah, you should check it out for yourself. It's
Yeah.
it's cool. It's a nostalgic feel. It's got really retro. Brian, who runs that room or that bar, is a really creative guy, and pretty much started up the small bar scene in Adelaide.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
And that's on the 29th of September.
Yes, it's AFL Grand Final night.
Yes, so if you... and we don't know who... Is one of the Adelaide teams going to get in the final? I don't know. I haven't even
No.
followed. No chance at all, right?
No.
So you guys don't give a shit.
No.
So it's so it's really perfect. It's a good
Perfect
night.
time, yeah.
Yeah. Look, let's remind people of those dates. So for those listening to this podcast who are in Adelaide, the first date they need to remember is this month, the 29th of September, which is Comedy Clinic.
Yes.
Which is an open mic.
Yeah.
And do they turn up and sign up, or should they get in contact with you now?
Turn up and sign up on the day at 7:30
7:30
for
Yep.
8 o'clock start.
8 o'clock start. And then for real, I might not be saying this right, but at least I'm not saying faux real. For real, 26th of October.
Yes.
The 8:30 show is sold out already.
Yep.
But the 6:30 show is available.
Yeah, 6 o'clock show, yeah.
6 o'clock, sorry, and it's during the Oz Asia Festival.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You might as well get absorbed.
Definitely.
Let's get a few more Smiths and Morgans on that Eventbrite list, eh?
Yeah.
And then you've got the big one in terms of your comedy career, let's say, which is next year,
Yeah.
Mad March. During the Fringe Festival, you're going to be in the show. What is that called again? That is called
The Next Generation.
Next Generation. Yeah. How many people in total are in that?
I think there's about 8 or 10 of us.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a small number.
Yeah.
It's quite a privileged group of people. Fantastic. Well, Kim Lee, it's a privilege to hear your story and actually be part of it and watch it
Oh, thanks, Mark.
grow,
Yeah.
which is lovely.
Yeah.
And good to see you come down to Melbourne for the filming of the episode 6 of Ito, which was Is This Thing On? Depending on how Is This Thing On Melbourne goes, we hope to do it in Adelaide as well. So
Looks like an awesome show.
yeah, that is the goal anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Kim Lee. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, cheers, Murray.